Call to order the meeting of the Verona Plan Commission for Monday, August 5th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. We'll start with the roll.
Commissioner Tucker Long. Here. Commissioner Baer. Here. Mayor Diaz.
Here.
Alderperson Gaskell. Here. Commissioner Heinzen, I believe, is on his way, and Commissioners Manley and Lytle are absent and excused.
Great. 4 is quorum, so we will proceed. Item 3, approve the minutes from the July 1st, 2019 Plan Commission meeting. Questions, comments, motions?
Move approval.
Motion by Alder Gaskell. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Tucker Long. Last chance for corrections. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the July 1st, 2019 Plan Commission meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Just a reference, which you probably saw, is the initial hearing on the PIP for the building at 118 South Main Street was withdrawn by the applicant, so that's why it's not on the agenda. Instead, we'll move on to item 4, which is a conditional use permit for a proposed community information sign for the Verona Area School District to be located south of West Verona Avenue, east of West End Circle, north of Half Mile Road, and west of 9 Mile Road. And we're on the public hearing, but if Mr. Sayer could give us a brief overview.
Thank you. This is a public hearing for a community information sign that would be located just east of West End Circle at the intersection of West End Circle and West Verona Avenue. The ordinance requires a conditional use permit for this, which then also takes a public hearing. All conditional use permit public hearings are held before the Plan Commission, and the Plan Commission then makes a recommendation on the conditional use permit to the Common Council. Potentially the Common Council would review and potentially take action on this item at the next council meeting, which is next Monday, the 12th.
Thank you. With that, I will make a motion to open a public hearing on the conditional use permit for the topic discussed. Seconded by Commissioner Baer. All those in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We are now in the public hearing section regarding the community information sign for the high school. If anyone wishes to speak. Not seeing anyone rush up to the podium, so a motion to close the public hearing would be in order. Motion by Alder Gaskell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Heinzen. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And we are now on discussion and possible action regarding the item. Mr. Sayer.
Thank you. Once again, this is a community informational sign that would be located at the southeast corner of West End Circle and West Verona Avenue. The property where the sign would be located is highlighted in blue on the screen before you. This is a piece of land, a parcel that is actually owned by the city. We acquired this from the Department of Transportation in 2017 as excess right-of-way. There were 2 conditions upon that acquisition from DOT. Condition number 1 was that there shall be no commercial, industrial, or residential activity undertaken or allowed, and the land shall remain in public ownership. And 2, no advertising signs or billboards of any type should be located or maintained on the land except for on-premise or community-orientated signs. The Plan Commission provided an initial review of this request. This is a sign for the school district at the January 2019 Plan Commission meeting. This sign is potentially allowed by the zoning ordinance so long as it meets the following conditions. That the sign shall be permitted only with Plan Commission approval. Second, the proposed sign configuration and design of the sign shall be described as part of the conditional use requirements. 3, an officially designated sign which is limited to the display of information of interest to the general community regarding schedule of public events and public activities. 4, such sign shall only display information regarding events and information of general interest to the residents of Verona, copy of which may be considered advertising product. Private or restricted participation events or activities for private profit shall be prohibited. 5, such signs shall be located on private or public property. And 6, such signs shall conform to all visibility requirements of the zoning ordinance. So we did have that initial review in January. Comments from the Planning Commission included questions about the location of other signs in the area, hours of operation of the sign, Is there enough room to make repairs to the pipe? There's a sanitary sewer pipe underneath the sign with the 2 pillars that are straddling that pipe. How long will the conduit be for the sign? And discussion about the additional utilities in the area. This also went to the council at the following meeting in January. Comments from the council included opposition towards placing the sign on city property, questions about what information will be displayed on the sign, the importance of placing the sign where it can be seen from West Verona Avenue versus US Highway 151, the placement of the sign potentially being located on top of that sanitary sewer line, making sure the city is held harmless should the sign become damaged in the process of repairing the sewer line, questions about the size and color of the sign, and then also just general discussion about the overall number of signs in the area. So from a planning standpoint, once again, the sign in question is located in red on the screen before you. Weston Circle's to the west, West Verona Avenue, which is to the north. The sign itself would be set back approximately 55 feet from West End Circle and 28 feet from Half Mile Road. Half Mile Road is to the south. It's a rather kind of beat up roadway that most likely at some point will be vacated by the city, but currently it is technically still a public right-of-way. The sign itself would be approximately 10 feet tall from the level of ground, with another 7 feet of kind of underground that you wouldn't see. That's to kind of bury the sign in the ground so it actually stays in place. But it would be located in this kind of approximate location here on this actual site plan. There are utilities in that area, which we've referenced before at the last Plan Commission meeting where this was discussed. The utilities of importance and in question here include there's an existing storm sewer pipe, which is approximately in this location here. As part of the project, the applicant is proposing to realign and extend that pipe, and that pipe would be extended in that dark red line to a location that'd be east of the sign. The intent of that extension would be to, there was some concerns about where that pipe currently discharges of undercutting the sign and creating some potential safety issues there and just potentially damaging that sign as well. So as part of the project, the school district would extend that storm sewer pipe to I guess alleviate those issues and concerns. This sign would continue to straddle that sanitary sewer line that runs basically right down the middle of the sign. The pipe itself would be going basically right through the middle in this location here approximately. That is an 8-inch sanitary sewer pipe that serves the kind of west end area of the Steve Brown Apartments, the property that's owned by the UW Clinic. As part of this and any approvals, there will need to be a property use agreement as part of this. And kind of the concerns that were raised by both the council and plan commission, those would be dealt with in that property use agreement regarding the maintenance and future maintenance, I guess, of that pipe. The sign itself, the design hasn't changed much since we saw it in January. The brick would kind of complement and match the future high school, and so would the kind of the gray material as well. The kind of white lettering on there would also then be backlit, so meaning it's not going to have excessive glare. Just the only thing at night that will light up would be the kind of reader board in the middle, and then also the Verona Area High School portion of the sign itself. The sign itself, looking at just some perspectives, looking towards on West Verona Avenue, looking towards the west. So approximately here is where the Steve Brown Apartments development will be located. The sign is off in the kind of the corner here. Once again, now we're looking towards the east. This is towards the Fairfield Inn and Suites. We have the sign just behind that yellow SUV. And then finally, this is looking towards the north. This is on West End Circle. So we have West Verona Avenue where the semi and the bus are. Once again, we have the sign in this location here. As I said before, a property use agreement would be required as part of this. This would be any type of approval that would be a condition of it. This agreement will handle the stormwater pipe extension, sanitary sewer concerns, and future utility maintenance in this area. City staff did draft a property use agreement in April of 2019, but we suspended work on that agreement when city staff turned its attention to the school district's request to reevaluate the scope of public transportation improvements to reduce costs of the project. Staff will restart work on that agreement when the school district indicates it is satisfied with the findings of our report on their request to revisit the scope. So with that, we did go through the conditional use permit findings of facts. We believe it meets the requirements. So with that, staff recommends the Plan Commission recommend the common council approval of the conditional use permit for a community information sign on city property located south of West Verona Avenue, east of West End Circle, north of Half Mile Road, with the following conditions. 1, the conditional use permit shall become effective upon the VASD and the city executing a property use agreement. And 2, the proposed conditional use permit shall be in compliance with the property use agreement. The applicant is here. They'd be happy to answer any questions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions from the Plan Commission.
Thank you for that overview. Questions, comments, motions? Alder Gaskell.
Thanks. Can you go back to that image that you just showed, please? It's on. So I'm just having confusion around the actual orientation of the sign. So looking northbound on West End Circle, it looks to me that it's, for lack of a better term, perpendicular to the high school. But then when I look at eastbound on West Verona, it's actually what, 90 degrees different? So, Steve, am I right? See, doesn't that look like it's flat on with the high school behind it, right?
This, I think, is actually a view from Westridge Parkway behind you. Is what no, actually, that can't be.
Because that's the high school, right?
Right.
And there's, it looks like it's this, and then here it looks like.
The view looking eastbound on West Verona Avenue is perplexing.
It's this one right here. You got it on the
Yes.
screen? Okay. Yeah, I think that's mostly accurate. I mean, the sign mostly will run, give or take a few degrees, probably north-south.
How would it be?
I think it's just kind of how these were probably rendered in the machine, I mean, in the computer. I mean, this kind of, I think it hurts sometimes that kind of the dimensions of it, as you kind of look at some of these renderings, sometimes those fall out of scale.
And maybe the thing is, looking eastbound, I don't think we would see the high school there. Seems like the high school might be misplaced in this picture.
I think that's supposed to be the hotel. I think that's supposed to be the hotel, the
okay.
Fairfield back
Yeah.
there, and as you kind of look towards the city, I mean, I wouldn't, they're just renderings. The most,
Right.
most important one for kind of how it's going to be orientated is this one right here.
Thank you. I'm also wondering if you got an email from Tom regarding the crash rates increasing 29% with these types of signs, especially the digital TV monitor type sign.
Who did I get? Tom?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get that email.
Okay. He sent a study saying that overall crash rates in areas of billboard influence compared to control areas downstream of the digital billboard locations increased by 29%.
That's Tom Matthias?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get that email.
Okay. So I guess I can't ask you if you have any concerns about that.
There's been a lot of studies out there over the years regarding, especially when those billboards and the highways were converted to digital, and sometimes on those, it depends on who's doing the study, obviously, but the data on that's conflicting.
Right. Do we have oversight if it turns out that this is very distracting for all the 16 and 17-year-old drivers in that area?
Correct. I mean, if all of a sudden we have a large increase of crashes out there, I think that'd be a concern for the district and us, but it's going to have to conform to what our changes are required right now from a sign standpoint, which I think is every 30 seconds the message can change. It can't flash, it can't animate. It's going to have to meet what is in the code
Okay.
when it's there.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Tucker-Long?
Did we talk at all about putting this actually by the school and not by West Verona Avenue? Why do we need it so far away from the school?
I think that was discussed. I think the concern or the desire from the district was to have that visibility on West Verona Avenue. So putting it on their property, you wouldn't be able to see it from the Verona Avenue. That was their concern. So they wanted it out here so it had visibility to it.
Yeah, but everybody who needs to read it is going to the school, right?
No, whoever lives out there, I mean, I guess it depends on, what the purpose and the intention is. I mean, these signs typically, if they're advertising for, if something's going on at the theater, if there's a larger event there, I mean, they could put that on there potentially for advertising, or if there's a large sporting event, or if there's, sectional cross country or something like that, that could be an advertisement for people even turning into Westridge or heading out towards Epic, but, I don't know.
Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Takalan?
One other quick question. If we don't put the sign here, is there anything else we can do with this property? Like, is this precluding us from doing anything else with it?
So the city, when we acquired this, our intent of the acquisition with DOT was because of right-of-way in this part of the kind of stretch of West Rona Avenue, and then also long-term protecting our utilities. There's a significant amount of utility. You can kind of see them on the screen before you. We have water, we have the blue line's water, green is sanitary, we have another sanitary here, we have stormwater. We've got a lot of utilities kind of dumping into this parcel. I don't think the city would use it for anything else, just for that reason of this doesn't even account for the electric and everything else that's in here. So I don't see there being much use besides open space from our standpoint.
This seems like it might be a big area for pedestrians, is having it right by the turn there, especially people coming off the highway who are probably going a little faster. Is this going to affect pedestrian crossing here?
I don't think it will. So we'll have West End Circle and West Rona Avenue will be signalized as part of the school district's improvements. Also as part of that, they're going to be extending the sidewalk along the south side of West Rona Avenue. The sign location they had initially requested was actually in the right-of-way, and that was one that staff just said there's no way that's a non-starter for us. But I don't see it impacting pedestrian movements. I think no different than any other sign that's out there. But I think with the improvements out here that the district is making, overall it's going to help.
Other questions or comments or motions? Commissioner Heinzen.
Sure. At this time, I will move that the Planning Commission recommend the Common Council approve the conditional use permit to allow for a community information sign on city property located south of West Verona Avenue, east of West End Circle, and north of Half Mile Road with the following conditions. 1, the conditional use permit shall become effective upon the Verona Area School District and the city executing a property use agreement. And 2, the proposed conditional use permit shall be in compliance with the property use agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Heinzen. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alder Gaskell. Anything to add, Commissioner Heinzen?
Nope.
I'll just add one thing. I mean, sort of a question / comment from Mr. Sayer. Has it been made abundantly clear to the school district that, you know, if there's an emergency with a utility line or whatever, that the city is going to go in there? And obviously, we're going to try not to damage the sign, but you know, if there's flooding, if something else is broken, we're going in as fast as we can, right?
Yeah, we've told them kind of from the get-go that would be the case. I mean, I think the goal of this initially was, you know, we'd have that property use agreement go hand in hand with the conditional use permit. I think because of the district's request for us to reevaluate the kind of the scope of the transportation improvements out there, we held off on providing that, but language will be in that agreement that will basically protect the city. I mean, that's been the goal from our standpoint from day one. If we're going to allow this, we need to make sure that if we have to get to that pipe and there's an emergency, or I mean, it's a sanitary pipe, so luckily it's not water, but I mean, still, if we have to get to that pipe and we damage the sign in any fashion, it'll you know, that's going to be on the district dollars, not the city's.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't expect anything to happen, but you know, who knows in the case of an emergency. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of recommending that the Common Council approve the conditional use permit for a proposed community information sign for the Verona Area School District to be located south of West Verona Avenue, east of West End Circle, north of Half Mile Road, and west of 9 Mile Road with the conditions specified, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? And that motion passes. Next, we'll move on to item 6, which is a discussion and possible action regarding a site plan amendment review that would allow for the facade modifications to the gym area of the new high school located at 234 Wildcat Way. Ms. Hull?
The Verona Area School District has submitted a request for a site plan amendment review to allow for a facade modification to the gym area for the new high school located at 234 Wildcat Way, shown in yellow on the screen. There we go. In December of 2017, the Plan Commission was presented the initial plans for the proposed high school. Comments from the Plan Commission included a desire for the building to be less boxy. In March of 2018, the Plan Commission approved the site plan to allow for the construction of a 343,000 square foot building. The applicant is proposing facade modifications to the gym area, which is depicted in the red box. The applicant is proposing to remove 9 masonry piers for the gym area and replace them with glass. Which is shown on the screen right now. The above is the existing and the below is the proposed. The glass will have white vinyl letters about 1 foot tall stating Verona Area High School, located on the left-hand side of the proposed screen. There's an orange band that is proposed that goes down, and then the applicant is proposing orange vinyl letters about 6 foot tall stating VHS. In this view, you can see the existing building. And next slide, Anna. I don't think there we go. In this view, you see the existing building on top and the proposed modifications in the bottom on the left-hand side of this slide. The building and the site will remain the same and meet all of the previous site plan approvals. Staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the site plan amendment to allow for the facade modifications to the gym area for the new high school located at 234 Wildcat Way. The applicant is here to answer any questions that you might have, and so am I.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments? Alder Gaskell.
Just another consistency question. Can you back up to the previous slide, please? So there's more than just, I mean, this is about the facade change, but the facade to the right here, the windows have changed. It looks like we have an additional little layer here of something. And then if you go to the next slide, those are not showing up. So is this just renderings for the sake of renderings, or are there more significant changes than just the facade?
No, I think it's just renderings, kind of just as they render it. I mean, instead of re-rendering the whole building, there are minor changes in all projects. The one kind of walk kind of area there, I think that's just, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I was probably picking up on some additional detail that might be there. It's hidden. Yeah. So it's I mean, so some of the changes, I wouldn't really call them changes. It's just how it's being drawn now is it's slightly different.
Yeah,
so
that's great. I think the problem is that people take things very literally, right? So if we're looking for one change and then it's sort of the find all the changes kind of thing in the Sunday paper, I just caution on that. But other than that, I think this looks much better, and I really like it.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Tucker-Long?
I'm just curious, if you go to the next slide, it looks like all the vegetation's gone in front of it, all those little bushes and flowers and stuff. Is that really gone or just not on the rendering?
And if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Chris Michaud, Epstein UN Architects. To answer your question, the landscape in this modification hasn't been changed at all. And to clarify your question, that's a drawing error on our part. That's just the building in the distance, and it didn't show up in the first, but showed up in second, so our apologies.
Thank you. Other questions, comments, or motions? Commissioner Tucker-Long?
I move that we approve the site plan amendment to allow for facade modifications to the gym area for the new high school located at 234 Wildcat Way.
Motion by Commissioner Tucker-Long. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Heinzen, I think. Anything to add, Commissioner Tucker-Long? I will just make one comment. I think it's an improvement. I think it looks good. Other questions or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the Plan Commission approving the site plan amendment to allow for facade modifications to the gym area for the new high school located at 234 Wildcat Way signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next we'll move on up On to item 7, Ms. Holt.
The Verona Area School District is requesting a site plan amendment for the current middle school and new high school campuses located at 700 North Main Street. VASD is preparing to move students to the new high school in the fall of 2020. This will begin a domino effect of moving students from different schools to different buildings. The current high school will become the middle school with the Core Knowledge Charter School. The K Wing will house the Verona Area International School and the New Century Charter School. Sugar Creek Elementary School will be located where the current middle school is located. Staff has solely focused on the circulation of the campus as part of the site plan amendment. Access to the site will continue from the existing access points located from Wano Street, the cemetery, North Schumann, North Marietta, and West Lawn Avenue as they are functioning today. As seen on the slide, the yellow bumblebee areas will be used by school buses with the green areas used by parents for drop-off and pickup areas. Let's see here. The K wing of the school, which is there today, will have an additional 10-car queue for parent drop-off and pickup and will maintain the existing 5-car queue there today. Staff does have concerns regarding the potential backup onto Main Street due to the parents not going past the first drop-off point to the second point, which is past the stop signs there. The most significant difference between the existing circulation in this area is the removal of West Lawn Avenue, right turn upon the entrance to the school property as it can occur today. The right turn from West Lawn will be prohibited by a concrete median, which will be mountable by emergency vehicles if necessary. The proposed circulation in front of the former high school will change. Parents will drive a loop in front of the building that will be one way with visitor parking and a stop sign just north of Marietta Street. This is currently not this movement is really not allowed right now as it's one way with a big loop and you come back into the same point you enter into. The prohibited sign that won't let you do it as the do not enter sign will be removed from that section. VASD has agreed to monitor drop-off and pickup during the 2020-2021 school year in the southeast parking lot area, which is pretty much the point of concern for staff. Vehicular parking. There are currently 1,058 parking stalls for the site. The applicant is proposing to reduce the total number of parking spaces to 908, which is a reduction of 150 existing parking spaces. Staff is supportive in the change of the total parking spaces as the site will no longer house a high school with the need for student parking. The applicant will maintain the existing amount of bicycle parking spaces as previously provided. Staff is supportive of the applicant monitoring the demands for bicycle parking and accommodating those needs in the future. The landscaping, we looked at it and made some comments, but again, that was not the sole focus of our review for this project. The applicant is planting trees by the new playgrounds. Staff would recommend planting additional trees in newly created or enlarged medians while avoiding sightlines. Staff would recommend additional plantings throughout the campus as a future educational opportunity with students and when funding is available. Staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the site plan amendment to formalize the transportation circulation for 700 North Main Street campuses. The applicant is here to answer questions, as am I.
Thank you for that explanation. Questions, comments? Alder Gaskell.
Several, please. First of all, who is monitoring the drop-off? Are they saying that there are actually enough staff out there, like teachers are going to be out there doing basically drop-off and pick-up? Do you know? No? Okay. Where is the parking being lost specifically?
It is in front of the high school off to the left. They're changing a lot of the parking spaces in that area all the way to the left to bus parking spaces. Keep going left. keep going left.
So it's
That
all
area
sort of in
right
front of
there.
the greenhouse area, right?
Yes,
Okay,
all of
so
those
that's-
parking spaces will now be diagonal spaces for bus parking.
Okay,
If the applicant would like to.
I can, Catherine's
Okay.
answered the question.
bus access. Where are they coming in then?
The bus?
Yep,
Buses serving the new Badger Ridge Core Knowledge come up West Lawn and turn left and go into that southwest lot.
and then pop back out onto Harriet?
Correct.
And will they be going left and or right?
I don't know the specific direction that the buses will take after they leave the property.
Okay. One thing I don't have a lot of confidence in this. Right now, the way that it works at the high school, it's just pandemonium. In terms of 5 cars queuing and then 10 cars queuing, it's not. They're actually double stacking on either side of the one-way in front of the K-wing right now. So I'm curious if we're actually going to try and separate out the 4 different schools' parents drop off, or it's just one big area where you drop your kid off and you expect them to walk into the building. I'm not sure how that's going to be enforced. If it's signage, like literally are you pulling into your kid's specific school? The concern too is that these are charter schools, which means that yes, that I mean, they function in terms of the walk zone as a neighborhood school, but a lot of the kids are not going to be living in the neighborhood and will be driven, right?
Is that a question for the applicant or
Well,
staff?
I want more clarity around how this is going to function. We've got 4 different drop-off areas, but it's one big line. Are we?
I can provide some
Yeah.
clarity on that,
Thank
Sarah.
you.
Could you introduce yourself?
Sure,
Sorry.
Jim Bricker with JSD Professional Services
Thank you.
on behalf of the school district. The drop-off system that's at the current middle school, which is now going to be the new Sugar Creek, functions exactly the way it is. So that's a non-discussion point. In this location, the Main Street access coming into the K-wing is designed to be drop-off just for the K-wing students. That'd be the new Century and the International School. And the drop-off for the middle school and core knowledge charter school, which is the loop, is down, it comes off of Richard Street at the extension of Schumann and turns left and goes that way. The biggest difference here is there are 2 different starting times. So the K-wing drop-off occurs 7:30-ish, and the middle school drop-off occurs 8:30-ish. So there's roughly 45 minutes to an hour difference in there. So that by itself separates the volume of traffic. As to one of your earlier comments, Sarah, was the monitoring of this. I'm anticipating that the school district will have some, at least to start with, some personnel out there saying, you know, move ahead type thing. We are proposing widening of that driveway for one thing, so there is bypass capability, which there is not currently. So right now when you turn off Main Street, it's a single lane. And by widening that driveway, they can have the drop-off plus the through traffic getting down farther to the next drop-off area. We also have the option, you know, of other places within that campus driveway parking lot area for drop-off. So we're anticipating it to sort
Okay.
itself out.
Drop-off usually works because you're literally dropping off. It's the pickup when you have parents that show up literally an hour before school gets out to get
Right.
that spot, and then everyone sits there. And that's when I think the double stacking occurs at the high school,
That could
right?
be- yep.
They're stacking on the K-wing side and then on the other side of basically the one-way driveway there, and that is only going to increase, right?
Yeah. The advantage here is the total population's a lot less, the attendance. And there's actually, for the pickup, there's other options. There's going to be sufficient surplus parking in that lot during that. Think of it more as a cell phone lot, so they can park there and stay out of the traffic if they need to, if they insist on getting there early. Plus, we have that sidewalk that's along the Schumann Street driveway extension, which would provide the additional pickup area. I'm anticipating that it will sort itself out, but, you know, well, that's why we're proposing monitoring.
Yeah, I think that's great. I just know that leaving it to sort itself out is
I don't,
yeah.
I think it's a situation that we can't figure out a solution right now looking at it. We don't know how that's gonna work out, so it's literally, we're gonna have to monitor it and then modify the practice as we go.
Okay. I just don't want the burden to land on well, it's gonna land on the school district, but it's enforced by us technically, because, for instance, my kids go to New Century, which is right on, gosh, it makes me, Verona Avenue. We have people U-turning all the time. Explicitly say over and over again in newsletters, don't do that. Don't drop your kids off on the other side of the street and then run across when there's a break in traffic. Doesn't matter.
Right.
People do it. And now all of a sudden we've got a million schools here, right?
Well, yeah, you might have 1 million schools, but you have 25% fewer students.
The buses then for New Century and VAS are also behind where the current
drop-off
Sugar
is.
Creek. So all the buses will come there for the elementary school, that same
The
space?
existing queue that serves those two buildings is right where it is currently.
Okay. And where is the bike parking gonna be for the middle school?
It's between the K-wing and the middle school building. Right.
Right there, okay. Because the bike racks are full right now at Badger Ridge, so kids are riding their bikes there, and I, would love to continue to encourage that now, especially we have the crossing at Llanos that's much easier to get across. Are you anticipating where these kids are arriving from on bikes? Does anyone know anything about that?
I don't know that, I don't have any data on where they're riding from or on what the final attendance boundary, district boundaries are, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
We've also talked about putting bicycle racks right by West Lawn Avenue, where that concrete median is going to be between the parent drop-off and the bus, and that could be another possibly good spot for it as they monitor in the future. Because if
Sure.
children are coming from that area, it would be easier to park their bikes in that refuge and then walk across, so they're not taking their bikes into the sidewalk area.
Yeah, there's multiple locations on the middle school building to have bicycles.
Okay. I know a lot of them are coming down Basswood because I see them in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to figure out how to get them from there to the middle of,
You'd come down
right.
that
come down.
paved
Yep.
sidewalk pathway that comes down along the west
Okay.
end of the track. Stadium. Or the east side.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Heinzen? Okay. Other questions or comments or motions? Commissioner Tucker-Long?
So after they're monitoring it, will we get a report at some certain time? Can we specify a time that they'll give us a report on how it's going?
Mr. Sayre?
I think that's something you could ask for if you want a condition of, 6 months after it's kind of approved, you could ask for a report. Ultimately, I think as Alderperson Gaskell indicated a bit, if there is a backup on North Main, that's something we're going to be dealing with as a city. I mean, quite honestly, as we looked at this from a traffic standpoint, and I probably shouldn't say this, but we looked at potentially even recommending the closure of North Main Street, and that would deal with the potential backups onto Main Street. We just thought that was a rather drastic recommendation and a complete reroute of traffic that would adversely impact the neighborhood to the south. So we backed off on that pretty quick. But that, quite honestly, probably is, if you want to solve all your problems under, especially the main road in the city, that solves it. But it creates consequences elsewhere and challenges elsewhere where we're not fully prepared to maybe push that traffic to. But I think, yeah, putting a condition onto it for a report, I think that's something you could have provide staff with a report or at least a findings. And I don't know if you want to wait after the first semester or if you want to wait a whole year, but that's something that, it's going to take some time to sort itself out initially when people get used to it of learning. And I think some of it's going to depend on just how active, district staff are going to be out there enforcing people to move their cars or to move people along as well too. So there's a lot of variables moving in that, but you could ask for that. I mean, it's a fine condition. But if there's problems, I'm not sure how enforceable it is besides just having an update.
Alder Gaskell?
Crossing guards are going to remain in the same locations?
That's still one item we have to review with the district, so that's one item we've requested to have future meetings on once boundaries, walk areas, etc. has been finalized, and my understanding is I don't think it's been finalized yet. So
Okay.
I guess I wouldn't make any promises on that. I think we're going to have to reevaluate once again, once boundaries and any walk distances are set, looking at that and are we adding, are we subtracting, or removing?
It might be worthwhile reaching out to the church across the street. From a Safe Routes to School perspective, there's a lot there that pretty much is empty, and there's a crossing guard right there with to encourage people maybe to go park there, walk their kids across. You might actually take less time doing that than trying to get in this, what I think is going to be, at least for a couple weeks, a total mess. Maybe once it gets sorted out and people figure out the new routine will be fine, but it might be worthwhile exploring that, at least having a conversation with them if that's a
I
possibility.
think a conversation with the school and the church, as an opportunity presents itself. I think it will be, like you said, until this sorts itself out, because this is a completely different population and circulation pattern. It's going to take more than the first semester, I think, to work out. It's going to be the whole school year.
Commissioner Heinzen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually do have a couple questions that just occurred to me. Will the students in the K-Wing, I guess, which would be the International School and New Century, will they be using any of the facilities in the middle school? The cafeteria, PAC, and I'm just wondering, is there going to be traffic back and forth between those two schools during the school day?
As there is now, there's
Yeah,
traffic back
right.
and forth.
Yeah.
I would suspect that they may have opportunities to use the PAC, perhaps the pool. I'm not quite sure how that's sorting itself out, but the K-Wing will have its own cafeteria.
Well, and then it really, I guess that occurred to me because I was wondering, where is the entrance to the middle school? Is it going to be, I guess, the former entrance to the high school, or is it going to be by the PAC doors?
It's planned to be essentially reopening the formal front door entrance off of West Lawn.
Okay.
That's gonna be and that's why that plaza was built there, to kind of establish that as the front door.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I have a question. When would it be realistic, or when would the school district have some conclusions on the traffic kind of circulation? Like if we were to ask for a report, when would be like a realistic time frame?
I think just my gut reaction looking at the situation now and how this, I would think at the end of the school year would be the best time, so you can really see how it sorts out. It's going to be a learning curve that first quarter for 6 months. The whole cycle changes during the wintertime and then kind of reestablishes itself. So, it'd be late spring or the end of school in 2021. Is that the right year? Yeah. That'd be the first opportunity, I think, that you'd have actually some tangible information and data to look at.
Yeah. I think also there needs to be clarification around what we mean by monitoring, because there's staff out there monitoring, making sure that the flow keeps going and, kiss and kick them out kind of thing. And then there's actual traffic analysis from you, which is going to be much more useful than the third grade teacher saying it's a total mess, right? So when we're looking for a report, that's what I think we want to be specific about. What are we looking for? And I'd actually like to see if we could get something mid-year, because if it's not working very well when it's nice out and then all of a sudden we throw rain or snow into the mix and then suddenly the population that drives to school doubles, we want to have a little bit of a handle on that before that happens.
Sure.
I think.
Would it be realistic then to ask for, just so we get the terminology right, a traffic analysis report?
I don't know that you'd want the traffic analysis. What you'd want is circulation patterns, perhaps counts of some sort. I'm not sure. I don't even know.
You'd want a circulation report with traffic movements, because then you can at least decide where the cars are going, where they start, where they end. And you probably also want to add in there pedestrian and bicycle movements too, so that you have the data to know if you need the bicycle racks in a different location, if you're going to do all that information anyway.
I think that would be really helpful, because if it turns out if we have a problem, then we would have maybe some data if we can get some funding through Safe Routes to School or something like that to fix maybe the big glaring issue if there is one.
Yeah.
So that would be helpful.
Or at least begin to find the problem if there is one. Yep.
All right, I'm going to take a crack at making a motion. I move that the Plan Commission approve the site plan amendment to formalize the transportation circulation for 700 North Main Street, for the 700 North Main Street campuses with the condition that the school district will provide a circulation report with traffic movement, including bike and ped movement, by the end of the first semester. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Alder Gaskell. Mr. Sayre, did you get that all in the minutes?
So what I have is the motion to approve with the school district shall provide a circulation report with traffic movement, including bike and ped, by the end of the first semester. Is that correct?
That was my intention,
Okay.
yeah. And I guess I'll just make a general statement. I think the monitoring is really key with some of the safety issues we've had over there. I think we want to be proactive, and if I could just echo staff's recommendation to plant a few more trees, I think that would really help make the parking lot a little bit nicer. Well, as nice as parking lots can be. Questions, comments on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the site plan amendment to formalize the transportation circulation for 700 North Main Street campuses with the conditions specified, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we will move on to item 8, reports and comments from the planning department. Mr. Sayre.
I just have a few updates on this development status. The Gus property, that's a project by Veridian, which is the southeast corner of M and Range Trail. They'll be going to the Regional Planning Commission this Thursday evening for a public hearing on the urban surface area amendment. They'll also be have submitted plans for a preliminary plat at the next Planning Commission meeting. Other items is Festival Foods is obviously still under construction. They're targeting an October opening date. And then obviously the project across the street here from City Hall, the Lincoln Street Apartments, that is under construction. And then finally, I think we're targeting still possibly a October Plan Commission meeting where our zoning code rewrite consultant will be attending that. Before that meeting, they'll have a series of workshops during the day to meet with commercial industrial developers, and then also for a focus on residential areas as well too. Once we finalize those details, we'll obviously get those out to the public and the Plan Commission and Council and share those, but that project is ongoing. We had targeted the September meeting for that, and it didn't work with schedules and the holiday kind of the day before. So with that, those are the updates I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the Plan Commission.
Any questions for Mr. Sayre? Commissioner Tucker-Long.
Just a real quick question on the Whispering Coves. It says that they're going before the council in September. What are they bringing before the council, and is that after their deadline, or is this a new thing?
Nope, so they requested an extension of their preliminary plat approval, which then goes until September 27th. So as of right now, that extension is still valid, so it may come back to the council in September, and that would be based upon the recommendation from the Plan Commission when that was reviewed last month. We've had some conversations with them as well too, of them possibly withdrawing that application. I sent an email today kind of asking for clarification on are we moving forward with September kind of council meeting, or are we withdrawing the application, and haven't heard back yet on that email, but it will be coming back in some form, I would say, either within the next month or two. It might come back to Plan Commission, or it might go to council. I just don't know yet.
Alder Gaskell.
Do we have an alternate date for our September meeting?
That's a good question. So it's going to be the first Tuesday of the month, which is the 3rd of September. So not the 2nd, but the 3rd. Thank you.
Commissioner Tucker-Long.
For the zoning things that you were talking about, the sessions during the day, is that something that we should be at, or that's just for, okay.
No, I mean, the intent is they would be able to meet with commercial, industrial community developers or property owners, and then same thing with the residential component, meeting with property owners or residential developers, and then that night it would go to the Plan Commission, and there'd be, you know, a detailed discussion workshop of kind of kicking off the project of what items the Plan Commission is looking for, and just kind of starting the rewrite process. So you're more than welcome to attend, but no, you don't need to.
Last chance for questions? Seeing none, any reports or comments from the plan commissioners? Seeing none, item 10, adjournment. A movement to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Commissioner Bear, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Tucker-Long. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, and we are adjourned.